Now, look, I get it. These days I look in the mirror and I have to admit, I'm not the strapping young Muslim socialist that I used to be. Time passes, get a little gray, and yet, even after all this time, I still make rookie mistakes. Like, I'm out in California, we're at a fundraiser, we're having a nice time. I happen to mention that Kamala Harris is the best-looking attorney general in the country. As you might imagine, I got trouble when I got back home. Who knew Eric Holder was so sensitive?
Now let's talk about something entirely different, but I'm sure you care passionately about, and that is our military. You know, as you read Bob, Secretary of Defense Gates's, the former Secretary of Defense Gates's book, you saw that he had one day, he and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, to find out that they were going to get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And that, whether you believe it or not, whether you're for it or not, whether you want it to go away or stay exactly there, that changes the morale of the military directly, and they were not informed. There's something else going on in the military that's going to affect the morale and the way that operation works, and that is they have decided to loosen the standards on anybody's religious practices. They have a chance now to appeal, to break the code, the military code, if their commanding officer allows them to. This could just open up the floodgates to changing the rule of law and discipline that the Army has done so well in over the past 200+ years.
Right. Colonel Allen West had some thoughts about the long-term implications of these changes. Take a listen.
It's a horrible idea. It's part of the fundamental transformation of the United States of America and the social re-engineering of our military. I don't understand why the administration would take this on, but I believe that Chairman Joe Wilson, who is head of the subcommittee in the House on military personnel, should immediately call a hearing and start challenging this administration by making these unilateral decisions that are going to affect the military and its personnel. And eventually it will affect its readiness. It's going to cause more complaints, more issues.
And so what's going to happen with these widespread changes are members of the military, while in uniform, will be able to, for the first time, have beards, some tattoos, and they'll be able as well to wear turbans. Brian, just an hour ago, was talking to Dr. Zaoudi Jasser, who's the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum. He is Muslim. He served in the military. He was in the U.S. Navy. What does he think about this? Listen.
What they do is piggyback on communities that do need some legitimate accommodations, and meanwhile open the door for the litigation jihadists represented by groups like CARE and others to use this as a club on the head of officers that want to maintain safety and mission readiness.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. The New York Yankees will end up with stricter rules when it comes to their players than the U.S. Army has.
The real Yankees.
Yeah, the real Yankees. You're not allowed to have facial hair there. By the way, Wiccans also, there's like a few thousand of them. They're going to get a chance to plead their case. They worship something called magic, and they'll be able to possibly get that in. So if you're a sergeant and you tell me no, guess what? You might go under scrutiny. Are you bigoted towards me for turning me down for wearing a turban or doing something for my religion or wearing a beard?
Apparently, what they're going to do is decide whether or not, on a case-by-case basis, apparently, how's this going to affect the unit cohesion? In other words, if we allow this person to do this, is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing for the unit?
And you can't help but think, I mean, people are harkening back to Nidal Hassan asking to maintain and grow beard while trial was going on. So, I think it definitely brings up concerns both for safety, unified front, and just cohesion. But the debate is out. The debate is out.
I have an
idea. Some
idea.
Intelligent takes on it right there.
You'll get the military in on these decisions because since they fight the wars and they're actually doing incredibly well over the past 12 years, can you stop messing with their core values and beliefs that they found successful over the series, I don't know, of 225 years?
Well, these are changes coming from the Pentagon itself. The big question is now,
who's pushing them?
Now will they allow rules regarding Bibles to be relaxed? Will priests be able to say Mass going forward?
Right.
Are those changes coming?
Because we've seen clamping down on that, on the other hand.
All right.
Well, a buzz cut and a clean shave no longer mandatory for everyone in the military. There are some new regulations that would allow turbans and beards and other religious symbols to accommodate deeply held beliefs. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters is a Fox News strategic analyst, and he joins me now. Colonel, good morning. Good to have you back on the program.
Hey, great to speak with you, Martha. You know, there are two aspects to this question. There's the ethical religious, and then there's political. One is complicated. The political is very straightforward. I hope we can talk about them both.
Absolutely. So, you know, you think that there are some situations where accommodations should be made.
Well, you know, it's a tough question because good order and discipline has to come first. And there's an issue of where do you stop? Do Wiccans get to wear funny hats? Do Druids get to wear robes? Now, the example the Pentagon's holding up, because it's fairly neutral, are the Sikhs, turbans and beards, according to their religion. Now, I'm glad Sikhs want to join our military. Sikhs have a long tradition of being really tough, noble warriors, centuries. Best troops, except for the Madras sappers, best troops the British had in colonial India were the Sikhs. They're great. But when you join our military, Martha, everyone gives up a great deal. As a soldier, I gave up a lot of my civil rights, a lot of my personal freedoms. Now, let's turn it around and say, let's consider a group that nobody considers anymore, Christians. If you're a Christian and you join the Army, the Marines, you are putting yourself in line to violate the most basic premise of our faith. Thou shalt not kill. You're putting your immortal soul at risk. Now, that's a little bit more important to me, I think, than a beard would be. My point being just that when you join the military, there are compromises, there are dispensations. So I am worried that this is just more of the politically correct assault on basic military values, which leads us to problem two.
Yeah, you know what happens, I mean, two things come to mind. I mean, and you've sort of touched on this. When you join the military and you wear a uniform, in many ways you are giving up your individuality in some ways in order to become part of a cohesive group, right? And everyone, as you point out, leaves certain things behind in order to meet that common goal. Now, the military is saying, the Pentagon is saying that these will be case-by-case basis, that even, you know, for Sikhs, and I understand there's only a couple that are currently enrolled in the U.S. military, according to what we're hearing. So, you know, that if you're at a desk job and you're a Sikh and you wear your Sikh turban, it's not a problem. If you're out, you know, fighting on the battlefield, it might become an issue. And in that case, your commander has the right to say, no, you need to wear your uniform exactly as everyone else does.
It's just, we know that it's very hard to roll back such dispensations, very hard. And there are practical reasons, for instance, for the ban on beards in the military. It's hard, almost impossible to get a good seal on your protective mask, your gas mask. But I think that while the ethical and religious issues are a gray area, they're very tough. You know, and I can really see both sides of that. The bigger problem for me is that Team Obama's base, looks at our military and sees a large self-selecting conservative group, because, you know, young liberals don't join the military, they join Facebook. And this is one group that's overwhelmingly conservative by nature, not radically so, which Team Obama, this administration, has tremendous control over and can use for social experimentation. So you saw moving gays in the military, and I have no problem with that, by the way, as long as they sign up for the full program and aren't just making a political statement. But you've also got the idea of women in combat, which is going to inevitably lower physical standards and get people killed. Now you have loosening regulations on religious garb and religious wear. And, you know, if a Christian says, well, gee, you know, I believe in the Knights Templar, I want to wear a red cross on my left breast, how's that going to go down in Afghanistan? Extreme example. But I really believe that good order and discipline in the military require a reasonable degree of uniformity. You start making exceptions, and you're on the road to real trouble.
There's a lot of obvious controversy in this whole thing and in those issues. Ralph Peters, Colonel, thank you so much. Good to have you here as always. Thank you, Martha.